Hello and welcome to Postgraduate Application Advice Live. We're here to give you all the information you need if you are looking to further your studies here at the University of Kent. Over the next hour, we've got staff and students on hand to help answer any questions that you have. And if you do have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section on the Facebook and YouTube live stream. We're all keeping to social distancing rules, so please bear in mind if there's any technical hitches and difficulties, but hopefully it should all be fine. So to begin, let's head over to Recruitment Officer Kate Churchyard for some opening remarks. So Kate, tell us a bit about your role here at the university and what it's like to do a postgraduate course here at the University of Kent.
Oh, so it is. Sorry. Like
so we
I
have
was
some
said,
technical difficulties.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, like I was said, my name's
Sorry.
Kate. I'm a recruitment officer. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, I'm a member of staff here at the university. So I am in charge of recruitment for undergraduate and postgraduate. So postgraduate here at Kent is really amazing. We've got so many state-of-the-art facilities. We've got campuses, as you saw in the videos, in Canterbury and Medway campus, and also in Paris and Brussels as well. So there are loads and loads of opportunities here as a postgraduate student. And any questions regarding the application process or anything like that, I'll be here to answer for you today.
Thank you so much. And we've also got Shelley on the line. So Shelley, could you please introduce yourself, what you're studying, and what your experience has been like briefly here at Kent?
Yeah, so I'm Shelley. Is our sound okay? I'll just keep talking. I'm Shelley. I am an international student and I did my master's here as well as now doing my PhD. And I'm also a mature student. I'm coming up on my mid-30s, so I've got to sort of get into being a student again, which has been really fun. But it hasn't, deterred the experience at all. I think my experiences here has been incredible and the community is really great.
We've also got Irvin on the line. So Irvin, if you could do the same thing, what you study and what attracted you to come to the University of Kent to do your postgrad course.
Yeah, hi. I am in the MA International Social Policy program. And I was actually attracted to the University of Kent through one of my professors. Um, he basically, I was actually coming to get into criminology, but um, I had switched to international social policy after kind of learning about the program and kind of falling in love with it and seeing the campus and just the focus on international education was just what kind of hooked me. So, yeah.
So thank you all for your introductions. We're going to move on to some questions now. And remember, if you do have a question, please do leave it in the Facebook and YouTube comment section. We've got a couple of ones here to start with. So, Kate, to begin with, why should those watching come to the University of Kent to do their postgrad course?
I think, as kind of we've all reiterated, the campus is absolutely beautiful. You want to be studying somewhere where you feel comfortable, and it's just a really, really nice place to study. We've got like I said before, we've got state-of-the-art facilities, regardless of what course it is that you're looking to study, what area of study. We have got state-of-the-art facilities. We've been awarded the gold in the Teaching Excellence Framework, which means we are in the top 40 universities for our teaching quality, and that rolls over to postgraduate students and teaching as well. So we really, really have got state-of-the-art facilities and state-of-the-art teaching, as well as, obviously, like I said, a beautiful campus, as you can see here.
And for those that are interested in that and do want to come to Kent, how does the application process work for prospective students?
So if you're a prospective student, you would apply through the university website for postgraduate. So you will apply directly through the University of Kent website, directly for the course that it is that you're looking to apply for. You will have to still write a personal statement or like a reason that you're interested in studying at the University of Kent. And then that will go through our admissions team here. So rather than applying through an external agency, it will be directly through the university website. but the application process is generally the same, personal details, but the main thing is your personal statement, and you need to reiterate why you really want to come here.
So Shelley, moving on, in terms of your course, why did you choose to study your course here at the university? What was it about the postgraduate course for your subject that made you come to Kent?
Well, I do medieval and early modern studies, so my focus is sort of in Shakespeare and the other playwrights of that period, which makes Kent really unique as far as being in a city that is really medieval and beautiful, and it's fun to sort of walk around and see where the people I study would have been if they were here at that time period. So that was a big part of it, and then the other huge part is that we are just one quick, hour-long train ride into London, and the train drops you right off at the British Library, which is perfect for me because that's where I do a lot of my research and study. So the location is ideal, the environment is ideal, and the courses here just fit what I wanted to do, as well as the academic staff. They're really passionate about what they study.
And Irvin, for you, in terms of the student experience, what has that been like as a postgraduate student?
Well, of course it's been interesting because of COVID. Things are having to be done in a different way, and it's a little bit more online. But people are pushing through it. I came here having to self-isolate, and still I was able to make a but make a lot of pretty cool connections with people, and people I could actually say I have a friendship with within like 2 weeks, even though we had to kind of maneuver differently in terms of social connection. Um, so yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying meeting people. Um, I'm enjoying the campus community, and everybody here seems pretty open so far. So even and that's something that kind of surprised me as a post grad, but I think it's pretty awesome and it's very key to having a great experience in uni. So
And Shelley, how has your experience been, obviously in the wake of what's going on in the world? How has that been in terms of the student experience during your postgrad?
It's definitely been different. I was involved in a lot of student experience stuff for the last 3 years that I've been here. I've been part of the Kent Graduate Student Association. I was elected when I first came as a master's student, and then I stayed on as the president for a couple years. So I'm used to running events and seeing people in person and getting that whole social aspect of it. But being a PhD student, especially in the humanities, means that we are isolated a lot. We're always sort of working by ourselves, whether we're in archives or libraries or at home. Obviously, the science people are in the labs. But in that respect, it hasn't been completely different because I am used to working by myself, mostly in my home. But as far as having the big social get-togethers, that's been very different.
We've got some questions here, Kate, about the personal statement aspect of the application process. Could you talk a bit about that? Like how many words is it somebody's asked? How can it differ from the undergraduate personal statement that we have to write? So if you could talk a bit about the personal statement aspect of the application process.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of, I can't remember the number of words off the top of my head, but we will be able to find that out for you. But in terms of how it differs in terms of your undergraduate, you will still be including the same sort of information. So you obviously want to be selling yourself to the university. You're going to have a lot more experience and academic experience than what you would have done as an undergraduate, because obviously you will have come straight out of school or college, wherever it is that you're going to be coming from. Whereas applying for a postgraduate, regardless of whether you are a mature student or you're coming straight out of your undergraduate, you're still going to have a wealth of experience, whether that's job experience. Obviously, you've got your undergraduate degree, which is amazing. And you just want to be including all of that experience and all of that wealth of knowledge that you've gained, and just kind of portraying yourself so that the academics can understand why you want to study that, because obviously it's very different to you're specializing rather than doing a general degree usually in undergraduate. So the academics just want to know that you are, you're willing to put the work in and that you're happy to begin your academic career or further your academic career.
And what could what could somebody put to make their personal statement stand out?
So you want to be thinking less generic. So like I said, you're going to have everybody that's applying for a postgraduate will have an undergraduate degree, so you need to be pulling from your own experience in that. So not just your generic, you don't just have a sentence saying, what grade you got and then that's that. You need to be pulling from the actual knowledge that you've gained in your undergraduate or your work experience or your year abroad, all of those different things that make you unique, rather than it being generic. You need to be making sure that you're really, really thinking. It could be anything. It's not just necessarily academic qualities that people are looking for or academics are looking for. Really just pull and really have a think of what makes you unique to kind of another student that may be applying for the same course.
Shelley and Irvin, for obviously you both filled out personal statements to apply for your postgrad. Do you have anything else to add in terms of what Kate has just offered for the students?
I think what she said about standing out is really important, and that experience can come with that. I was a teacher before I came here, so I taught high school. I taught 16-year-olds in the States. So for me, that was a big part of saying, I haven't quite gotten into this field yet. My background is in film production, but I do have the skill and the ability to do this because I taught a lot to do with this subject. So I think that's a big part of it, and I think it's also really important to reiterate why you want to be here. I mean, for me, it was, a lot of the stuff I want to work with is at the Cathedral Archives here. There's a lot of sources in London. So this is the perfect spot for me because of these sources and because of what I want to do.
And what about you, Evan? Do you have anything else to advise people in terms of writing their personal statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's much more to be said. I mean, for me, my approach has always been to you know to be myself, and to really express things that are interesting to me and that are also applicable to my, first of all, the course of study, and secondly, to how I can be a contributor to the campus experience and the educational experience that I'm trying to have at the University of Kent. So those were my focuses when I was writing my personal statement, so that I could, express how much that I can give and express how much I was bringing to the table. And I think that's always something that'll help you write the best personal statement while also standing out and being true to who you are as an applicant and a person.
So I've got here that it's 2,000 characters max for the person that submitted that question, how many characters that they should write. But we've got another question from Fawn. She says, I don't like my modules for the second year of the part-time MA. The ones I liked have been removed. What do students do in this situation? Kate, if you're able to give advice for this.
I really think it depends on your school and the course you're studying. I don't think there's a blanket approach for that. So this might not be the best setting to answer that question, but it's definitely just worth speaking to your academics in terms of potentially swapping courses. That is always an option. Don't be afraid to, obviously this is your career, you're paying for this, for your academia, so don't be afraid to consider swapping courses. Like I said, that's not always an option, but it is something that you can talk to academics about if it's something that you're really, really not happy with and it's really not going to further your career progression. So don't be afraid to kind of take or consider large steps, even if it may seem like a step backwards or a step to the side. Don't be afraid to kind of just have that conversation because it might help you in the long run. But yeah, it really does depend on kind of personal circumstance and which subject you're studying, really.
In terms of researching modules before you start your undergraduate course, that's part of the research in terms of looking for the best course for you. But what else can students do to prepare for doing an undergraduate course here at the University of Kent? Kate?
doing a postgraduate course. So when you're coming from your undergraduate degree, obviously researching, like the two guys on here that have obviously they're studying at the moment, what they've kind of reiterated is you have to be passionate about it, and you have to make sure that you are really, really researching the course that you're looking to study. It's really important to note as well that universities may have the same course title, but they may teach very, very different content. So although you may be studying a psychology master's, for example, the modules within that will vary really, really significantly to university. So it's really important to do as much research as you can before you submit that initial application.
Shelley, how can students mentally prepare in terms of going into a postgraduate course? Because obviously it's a big jump from undergraduate to postgraduate, and some students might feel like they need a break. So how can you get in the right headspace in order to move forward to do a postgraduate course?
Well, that's tricky because I think it's different for everybody. If you're going straight from undergrad into postgrad, it's probably not that much of a transition, especially if you're going into the master's degree that's taught, because it is a very similar environment. If you took quite a break like I did a couple of degrees in the States before, and then I taught before I came to do some more over here. I think it's important, first of all, to remember that you have been out of practice as a student for a long time. So it does take a little bit to get back into that mindset of doing work when you come home from class, because if you've been in the workforce, you're used to working during the day and then you come home and you don't do anything. So that can be a transition. And it can also be a transition to get back into academic writing and research. So as far as getting in the mindset to come back, it's really just to remember that you are a student again, and you have to think about what it was like to be a student before and not necessarily in the workforce. But if you're going from a master's degree into a PhD, it is a little bit different, because as a master's student, especially if you're doing the one-year taught course, again, you're a student who goes to class, you do the assignments that you're told to do, and then transitioning into the PhD life, where it's very much an independent sort of job. You have to decide what you're researching and sort of when your deadlines are. You can work on that with your supervisor a little bit, but for the most part, you're on your own, and that is a really rough transition to not have somebody telling you what to do all the time. So yeah, I would say just give yourself a little bit of grace and realize that it is going to be different, and that it's okay to take time in that transition.
And Irvin, how have you found that transition period between being an undergraduate and a postgrad? How have you been able to adjust and transition?
Well, I took a gap year in between undergrad and postgrad, and yeah, I worked a bit, and we always have this saying back home that like you want to get your degree as quickly as possible if you're going to do your postgrad, because once you start working, it feels like Shelly said, you're going back into a different world almost like. So I had to handle it in a way where I started studying even before I came into Kent, and trying to kind of get back into that flow of academia, and you know, and just getting back into the disciplines that I know I enjoyed, and trying to focus on the reasons why I was going back to school, and getting my master's degree. So I started to engage in a lot of, like, find maybe articles I liked, find some reading that I liked, and such and like, so I can just kind of get back into that flow, into that mode, um of just kind of learning and trying to enhance your knowledge without thinking to like get paid for it or something like that. And so it's, I mean, to be honest, it is still something I'm getting adjusted to, even in November. It's, especially as our assignments are starting to be due for my particular course, getting back into writing 5,000 word essays and stuff, and doing all of this research. But it takes time, which I think establishing a routine and doing within the flexibility of your modules and your course, doing the things that you like, researching the topics that you like, writing essays on the topics that you enjoy within your course is a good way to kind of make that transition a little bit easier.
We've got some questions about the support available whilst you're doing a postgrad. She asks, do we have literature programs and scholarships available? Kate, are you able to answer this question?
We do, yes. All three of those things that have just been pointed out. So we've got a wealth of different scholarships available for postgraduate students. That's for home and international students as well. So they will be all listed. Obviously, we've got too many of them to list right now, but they are listed on our website. So if you were interested to seeing if you were eligible for scholarships, then definitely check out our website, because they are all listed on there and all of the details, etc., on there too. In terms of student support as well, one of the other awards that we are very incredibly proud to say that we have achieved, we have won awards for our student support services within the UK, and that's something that, you know, especially now at the moment with things are as they are in the world, student support is something that is so important, and it's something that you, when you're thinking about which university to potentially go to, it's something that you really need to look into and see what services universities have. So our support ranges from whether you need help writing your essays. So like the two guys have said, again, you know, it can be tricky coming back into academia, whether you've had a break or not, even just the break over the summer. If you've gone straight from undergraduate to postgraduate, it can be really tricky. So we've got support services to help you get back into academia. We've got mental health services, physical health services. All of those come under one big support umbrella, and we've all, you know, like I said, we've won awards for consecutive years for those support services. So it's something that we're really proud of here at Kent. So it's something to really bear in mind when you are thinking about going to, or where you want to go to university.
Shelley and Irvin, have you been able to access the support available, and what have you made of the support available here at Kent?
Yeah, I'll just say that I was really impressed coming here. I've been to several different universities in the States for previous degrees, and you know, there's always a certain level of support, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's specifically a Kent thing, but the just sort of like wealth of opportunity to get the support that you need has been incredible, and just having faculty members and teachers willing to listen if you say, you know, I need a little bit of help. Everybody has been incredible, and they'll point you in the right direction, and consider that as part of your holistic person as a student. So yeah, I would say that I have been incredibly impressed, and it's been more than I expected.
And what about you, Evan?
I would echo that sentiment. I went to a very small school for undergrad, and so far here at the University of Kent, I have felt a level of support that is similar to, you know, the connection you feel going to a smaller school. Like it's kind of crazy. Like the way I feel like, you know, like my education and my well-being, it feels like it's important to the people here at this university, and that's huge for me. I don't feel like a number. I feel like I'm a part of something bigger, and that people are, you know, working to ensure that myself and other students are doing well. Um, I even in self-isolation, which is like a new thing, obviously to COVID, I they checked in on us, they made sure we had meals, they made sure we were okay, and it was way more than I expected. You know, my professors are very caring, very understanding, um, and it just seems like, you know, support is almost built into the Kent community, and I think that's a pretty cool feature to have at a school.
Something for students to think about is obviously their accommodation, as you mentioned. So what would you say about the accommodation for postgrads here at Kent, and what's the community like, Kate?
So we've got a purpose-built accommodation for our postgraduate students, which is obviously it's purpose-built, and you have a community just of postgraduate students. It can be, if you're looking to live on campus, you don't necessarily want to be surrounded by brand new undergraduate students. You just want to crack on and be with like-minded people. So I think it's really important that we do have a specific kind of postgraduate community on campus. Like I said, it just means that you are with like-minded people who aren't necessarily as lively as your brand new and shiny undergraduates. And the postgraduate accommodation is really, really nice. It's a really, really nice part of the campus. It's very, very central, so you haven't got far to go in terms of your lectures and all of the library and things like that. And obviously there is opportunity to live off campus if you didn't want to live within kind of the halls of residence. And we do have accommodation support teams, and we have connections with local landlords and things like that if you did want to live off campus, if that was your preference. And you will still have the support of the university if that's what you decided to do.
And Shelley, how have you found the accommodation here at Kent in comparison to previously?
Well, I'll say the same thing, is that it's great that there's just one sort of community. The Wolf College is the postgraduate community accommodation at Kent. And I chose to live there when I came for my MA because I was an international student. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the area. And I knew that even before I was going on to the PhD, it was nice to have just one place that was set up for me to go for a year while I figured everything else out. And I was also on the sort of task force committee to make some improvements to Wolf that some of the students were asking for. And we got together heads of accommodation, the deans of different colleges, including the Graduate and Research College. And we spent some time talking about things that needed to be improved. And we made some really good headway. I think there are a lot of big improvements to the area. And it's really nice as a student, especially, coming in, I was like 30 or 31. And I was like, I don't want to be hanging out with like young people all the time. I'm not going to fit in. But I found that in Wolf, there's people of all ages. We had people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, all just part of one big community and getting along because they had shared interests. It was really great.
So thank you all for your insight in the first half of this event. We're going to take a quick break now and show you what life is like at the Canterbury campus. And don't forget to send in any questions that you have. We're going to be back. See you in a bit. Hi, my name is Olga. Welcome to the University of Kent's Canterbury campus. So this is Templeman Library. It's got so much study spaces for you and your friends to get some work done. It's got over 1 million books and journals for you to do your work, and also the library staff are a dedicated team of people to help you and answer any questions that you might have. So welcome to the Plaza. This is normally where the hub of activity takes place on campus. There's loads of places to eat and drink with your friends with. There's also a bookshop and also one of the two of the co-ops on campus. So behind me is a sports centre here at the University of Kent. There's something for everyone. There's a gym, fitness and dance studios, martial arts training areas, and even a physio clinic. With sport and fitness at the University of Kent, you name it, we got it. Not far from the sports centre, you have Parkwood Student Village. Parkwood is an amazing place to meet amazing people. I met some of my best friends here in my first year. There's other areas to live on campus, such as Keynes, Turin and Darwin. Parkwood is next to our campus pub Woody's, which is a great place to relax and socialise with friends. So across the street from Parkwood, you have the sports field under Pavilion. On Wednesdays, sports teams can be found training or playing against other unis. In quieter times, it's a great place to chill and keep to any social distancing rules. So we're back in the centre of campus and we're outside the Gulbenkian. The Gulbenkian is a place of entertainment here on campus. It's a cinema, it's a theatre, it's also got a music hall called the Collier Ferguson, which will all be open once lockdown has been eased. But the Gulbenkian has so many shows, whether that's comedy, theatre, dance, and if you're part of a performance society here at the University of Kent, you might have the opportunity to perform here just like I did when I was a student. So saving the best place for last, it's many people's favourite places on campus. It's the one and only, the campus green. It's got a wonderful view of the cathedral, plenty of wide open space, and what better view to have of the city of Canterbury. Hello and welcome back to the Postgraduate Application Advice event. We're here to take any questions, so please leave them in the comment section in the Facebook and YouTube live stream. We've got a couple here. So Leia asks any tips on applying for postgrad scholarships? Again, you did touch on scholarships before, Kate, but if you could just, if she missed it in the first half, if you could just explain a bit about the scholarships available.
Yeah, of course. So it is just down to research, really. Every university will offer postgraduate scholarships. Like I was saying before, we do have a really wide range of scholarships here at Kent for postgraduate students, whether that's a home student or an international student. We do have, like I said, a range of scholarships for a range of different things, whether that's based on academia or kind of personal circumstance, whatever it may be. But it's really worth doing your research and finding out what you're eligible for. In terms of applying, you just go onto the university website. So if you type in kent.ac.uk/scholarships, you'll find our scholarships page on there. And the way you apply will vary dependent on the scholarship, but generally it will be through the university website, and you click on that specific scholarship and it will tell you whether you have to, for example, write an essay or provide any documentation, things like that. So just do your research to see what you're eligible for, and it will tell you all how to apply kind of on each specific scholarship.
We've got another question about accommodation, which we were talking about previously. They ask, are you placed with your course mates in the postgraduate accommodation or just other course students?
Is that for me, that one? Yeah.
Oh, yes, Kate.
Yeah, sorry. It will vary. Generally, because we've only got one, obviously, like they were saying, because we've only got one postgraduate accommodation block, which is Wolf College. It's quite tricky to put people with their course mates because obviously there's so many different courses that are offered here at Kent. And it's generally a good thing that you're not put with your course mates necessarily, like just put in one flat with all your course mates, because it gives you a really good chance then to meet people from a variety of different courses, because you're going to meet your course mates anyway via lectures and seminars. Even at the moment, if it is online, you're still going to be meeting them. You can still find out where they live and things like that. So it's a good way of kind of mixing and finding new friends that you wouldn't necessarily have met if you had only been placed with your course mates. So it might be coincidence that you get put with someone, but we wouldn't necessarily just put one course in one block, because yeah, you get the social experience being with other people as well.
Patricia asks how much do you pay for a postgraduate accommodation? Kate.
So with Wolf, it will depend on so the postgraduate accommodation with Wolf will vary, obviously dependent on the whether off campus. Accommodation options are listed on the website, specific prices, because it's not just one price, it's broken down into specific terms and things like that. So just have a site again, kent.ac.uk/accommodation. That will be all on there, and it'll all be listed on there, because it does vary dependent on a couple of different factors, and with the off-campus accommodation as well, that will all vary. So it will all be listed on the website, and you can have a look into it in a little bit more detail there.
So we've got a question from Anna Belen, and she asks, can I use all the facilities at the university, for example, gym, for free as a postgraduate student, or do I have to pay for it? To Shelley and Evan, if you could give some insight on this.
Well, that has actually changed. If you're living on campus, now you can have access to the gym for free. For those of us who are not on campus, we do have to pay a yearly fee. But um, uh, as it compares to other gyms in town, I can't say for sure how different that is. But if you're living on campus, you get to go to the gym for free. Yeah.
We've got a question about financial support and jobs. She asks, do you offer jobs for international students on campus, as international students are only allowed to work 20 hours per week? Kate.
Yeah, so you will be able to get a job. Again, it does depend on your visa. We do have part of the student support services is that we do have a kind of employability officers and employability assistants that will work within your faculty, within your division, and they will advise you on just how many hours you can do, where you can do them, what sort of jobs you can do, and things like that. So you won't kind of be left alone. And if getting a job is something that you're interested in, there are people that can take a look in a little bit more detail your visa, just to make sure, just so obviously you're ticking all the boxes and things like that. So there is so much support out there. We've got a job shop as well. The Kent Union is available. That's part of our student union, is called Kent Union, and they have a job shop. We have an employability fair, and we have an employability award scheme as well, which international students can of course all take part in. It's just, if you wanted to take part in any of those, we have got those officers that are in charge of employability, just so you can make sure you've ticked all the right boxes if you are an international student.
We've got a question about the application process. Irvin and Shelley, if you could answer these, taking turns. They ask, what was the hardest part about the application process? Irvin, we'll start with you.
Ooh, hardest part. Let's see. I'd say the hardest part for me actually came when I got my conditional offer. Um, because I was at a point where I was still, what do you say? I was still in school, so it kind of put pressure on me because I was like, "Oh man," but it was pressure and motivation because in a way you have a target. You like, okay, I need to achieve this grade, and it keeps you like a lot of us, especially if you're going to school in the States, like you kind of have this feeling where your senior year you kind of lax out depending on what you're trying to do, and that kind of stopped me from doing that. And which was good. I stayed engaged with what I was doing, and so that I could make that conditional and unconditional. And so, yeah, that was a big part for me. I said the second hardest part was probably the personal statement. Because, even though, you're just supposed to be writing about yourself, there's is that pressure, to how am I representing myself and how are other people going to perceive this part of the application? So,
And for you, Shelley, what was the hardest part of the application process for you?
I would say for PhD students, it's a little bit different because you're not just pitching yourself, you're pitching a project. So you sort of have to have an idea, like a really good idea of what is happening in the field you want to work in, what you are bringing to the table that's new. You have to do some research. You have to say what it is that you specifically want to study. Of course, that changes a lot. Your first idea of a thesis can turn into something totally different by the end, but you need to be sure that you have an idea that is viable and that you have a supervisor who is enough of an expert in that field to supervise your project. So I think that's the hardest part, is making sure that you do your research beforehand, and pitch the idea for your thesis in a way that says, this is exciting and this is new and this is why Kent should take me on to do this project.
We've got a question about interviews. They ask, what advice do you have for applicants when it comes to interviews? Obviously, interviews can be a bit daunting. So, Kate, do you have any advice for students that are a bit worried about the interview aspect about their application?
Yeah, definitely. It's just about doing your research and being prepared. There's nothing worse than going to an interview being unprepared. Obviously, you would hope that if that's something that you really, really wanted to do, you would have done your research prior. But just make sure that you have covered all of the basics. And that you research the company or the university. Obviously, if you were looking to come to the University of Kent and your course was one that you had to interview for, it's worth noting that not every single course you will have to interview for. So make sure you're doing your research first of all, whether or not you will have to have an interview, because there are a lot of courses here at Kent where you don't have to have an interview for as part of the process. But just make sure you've researched the university thoroughly. Make sure you really, really understand the course that you're studying, because they're interviewing you to make sure that you are the best candidate for the University of Kent and specifically for that course. Because typically with masters, the places are more limited than an undergraduate course. On an undergraduate course, you could have up to 200 people in one cohort. That tends to be very, very reduced in postgraduate, because obviously you're going to need more. It's more intense, it's more specialised. So just make sure you've researched every single aspect of your application. Make sure you understand your personal statement, which sounds obvious, but if you've kind of brought a point right out of the closet that you've really had to think about, it might, under pressure, you might forget about that point you've made. So make sure that you really have understood your personal statement. Because obviously you might have written your personal statement 6 months before you have your interview. So make sure you've reread your personal statement. And yeah, it's just about being prepared. And they wouldn't be interviewing you if they weren't interested in you, is what I always think when I go to an interview. So you've got that step. So just make sure that you're prepared and then you'll be good to go.
We've got a question about the current climate. They ask, do you provide distance learning, or are you doing strictly online or mixed teaching?
So is that for me? Sorry. Yeah. So we're at the moment, it is just dependent on government guidelines. We are doing, obviously we've got this new lockdown in England, so we are still trying to do blended learning, but the majority at the moment are online courses. I know for postgraduate students, again, it is dependent on course and the academics, and how many people are on that course and things like that. So this isn't a blanket rule for everyone. You need to do your research and you need to speak to the specific school. But if I know we have offered distance learning for some international students, so there are some students that are enrolled onto the courses that aren't here in the UK just because they couldn't get their visas ready, or their English language requirements and things like that, because obviously everything, the world is shut down. But that was to the discretion of the school and the academics and the student and things like that. So that isn't a blanket rule, but I know they have been offered. So it's just down to circumstance. But yeah, most of it is online at the moment with some face-to-face teaching. But we are just going to be following government guidelines in terms of what's going to happen with regards to our teaching. And that'll all be kept up to date on the website. So it's really important that you just keep up to date on there.
We've got a question about extracurricular activities and societies. They ask, what is the value of extracurricular activities and leadership responsibilities in my application? Shelley, we'll go with you first.
As part of the application, I think that is really important, because it shows that you've taken on other things besides just your schooling, and that adds to you as a person. And I think that a well-rounded student is one who has other areas of interest in their life and other things that they've done, because it helps you to think a little bit more critically, especially if there are environments that you wouldn't have had access to if you were literally just, studying all day long. So it shows that that you have other experience to bring to the table, and that can help you read between the lines and come up with different ideas, and be part of a community once you get here. So yeah, I think that's really important.
We've got a question about the support for self-isolating students, and Irvin, I know you talked a bit about that before. They ask, what support does Kent have for self-isolating students? I hear some unis are providing food and games packages. So, Irvin, if you could talk about the support that you received and what is available for postgraduate students.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so in self-isolation, we're provided accommodation, and we're also provided food every day. And that food consisted of we had breakfast, we had lunch, and we had dinner. And it's all based on you can basically choose from a list of options what you want. And it's actually, you also get extra goodies. You get, they gave us chocolate a couple of days, they gave us fruit, um, and you have water, and they also brought us juice. Like it was I'll say it was way more than I expected, and it was actually really, really nice, because I never felt like I was wanting for anything. Um, and so yeah, so you have your accommodation, you have your daily food package, um, and yeah, so it's pretty good. So you don't have to worry about much while you're in self isolation. You can really like, especially I came in the middle of October, almost. And I just felt like I could just focus on my course. I wasn't worried um about anything per se, and it just felt like I was well taken care of. The rooms were really, really nice. It was actually my first experience with uni accommodation in the UK, and I was like, blew anything I'd ever lived in out of the water. So yeah, I couldn't complain about anything. And I thought it was a pretty cool first experience. Like, though it was different, and though, I know a lot of us would have wanted like a real regular freshers week. It's like it was a pretty cool experience for me.
And Kate, where else can students go to find out about the support available to them if they are self-isolating as a postgraduate student?
So there's multiple channels of support. So when you come to the university, you've got your academic school. They will provide you with advice whether or not it's meeting new people, meeting your academics. You can have a one-to-one conversation. So obviously getting to know your course is going to be a big thing in self-isolation because you're not going to be seeing your academics face to face. So they'll be providing that support to you. They're like we've spoken about the support services that are available. You can phone them up. You can get a one-to-one virtual conversation with somebody. You can email them. There are so many different channels of support that are available to students at the moment who are self-isolating, because it can be a difficult start to university, I guess. So those support services that I spoke about earlier, they're all going to be equipped. All the staff have been trained in kind of virtual support, I guess. So there will be loads of different people in loads of different parts of the university that you'll be able to get support from.
And Shelley, what would you say for those who are concerned about furthering their study in this climate?
I would say that living on campus is definitely a good option. If I didn't already, have a place here to live, if I were coming right now to university, I think living on campus is good. One of the things, even when there's not an isolation situation, that was good about that was that you don't have to worry about bills. Everything is included in your accommodation costs. And I would just say to keep in mind that everyone is experiencing the same thing. I think one of the good ways that I heard somebody talk about it was we may not all be in the same boat, but we're in the same storm. And the way that we're navigating that might be a little bit different for everyone. But there are a lot of student-led initiatives that are helping people with the effects of it, whether that's sort of weekly meetups via Zoom, and different ways to keep in touch. I would just say to keep in mind that we're all weathering the same storm, and we're here to help each other.
And then it's only been a couple of months in this crazy climate, but what would you say have been some of your highlights at the University of Kent during your postgraduate course, Shelley and Irvin?
I would say probably my biggest highlight was being a postgraduate officer and getting involved in that leadership role, because in any capacity as one of the postgrad officers within the KGSA, you get to be involved in a lot of planning. We ran events all the time for postgraduate students because community was really important to us. Because especially being a researcher, it can be really isolating even without an official isolation situation happening. So being a part of that was incredible because I got to meet so many people as I was planning and running those events. I got to be involved in a lot of different things. As the president, I got to meet a lot of faculty members. I got to sit in on important meetings that helped make decisions for students. So I would say that that has been my highlight. I think I have a lot of really good memories from big events and getting to know people and being a part of shaping experience for postgrad students at Kent.
What about you, Evan? What have been some of your highlights?
Some of my highlights so far have been I still remember the first day I stepped out of Tyler Court um, from self isolation and saw the campus, and I think I screamed because I was not only was I happy to be out of self isolation, it was like I'd seen the campus online, I'd seen it like in pictures, but to see it in person was mind blowing for me personally. And so I will always hold it up as a highlight because it's such a and I've gotten the chance to like walk around more. I've gotten the chance to explore Canterbury, and I've really fallen in love with this place. I think I think it's pretty beautiful. It's pretty awesome, and I, I honestly wish I had more time here. Like it just seems like it seems like such a great place to live. And so, yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest highlights for me so far.
And as we come to the end of the show, we'll go through one by one, but starting with you, Kate, do you have any final advice or words to future prospective students here at the University of Kent?
I think everything that we've just reiterated, obviously Kent is a beautiful place to live, as Owen just said. The Canterbury campus is absolutely beautiful, but ultimately it is down to a personal decision. So make sure that you are choosing the right decision for you, and by doing that, you need to make sure that you are putting the work in beforehand and you are doing your research. You do go visit universities if you can. Obviously, once we come out of this second lockdown, if you do have the opportunity to go visit campuses and go visit towns, it's really, really important that you do so and just kind of use this time as we come to the end of the year to do your research into the course. Like I said, different course titles at different universities will mean completely different things. You'll be taught different things. So just make sure you're doing your research and choose, what is right for you. But like we said, highlighted everything. Canterbury is a beautiful place to live, and Kent is a fantastic university. So definitely check. We've got a postgraduate open day as well. That is in the middle of November. That's listed on our website. So do check out our open day. All of our academics, me, myself, and all of my recruitment team, we will all be there as well to answer any questions if you kind of think of anything after this event. But that's on our website. Just go to kent.ac.uk, like you can see at the bottom, and you can sign up to our postgraduate open day there.
Shelley and Irvin, any last advice and words of encouragement for students?
Yeah, I would just say that I mean, I'm a big person who's just, I take leaps and I do things and I travel and that's just my personality. But I think that if you're considering doing a degree, especially as an international student or especially as an American in another country, that I think that's really important because it's experience and it's exposing you to another culture. And I think that the Canterbury campus at the University of Kent is really unique in that the city itself is still a medieval city. You walked up the high street as an American, it looks like a movie set. I thought that I was like in Hogwarts or something. It takes you a second to realize that it's real. So I think that if you want sort of that quintessential British or English experience, this is a really great place to do that.
And lastly, Evan, do you have any advice or words of encouragement?
Yeah, I would say that, especially now, I know this is a very, very difficult time to be applying to university. especially whether you're an international students or you're going to be somebody from the UK or from the EU. It's a very, very difficult time because there's so much uncertainty, so many things are changing. But I think it's important to, be sure of yourself, and that's why the research is has been reiterated so many times. That's why the research is so important, and you making a choice where you are going to be personally happy with what you're choosing to study for the next year or next couple of years, and that that you can so that you can feel personally ready and so that you can feel like the commitment is worth it. And so you can be more sure, and having that surety can, help you get through this time and, help you get through this application process. Because I know for me, when I found that, it was definitely worth it. And I think it's definitely enhanced my experience, that I really, really was committed and knew that I wanted to come to the University of Kent. I wanted to do this. I wanted to study my course in particular, and I wanted the learning outcomes that were going to come out of it. So I think that's important, to have all of those things together before making a final decision and before making a commitment, so that you can get the most out of whatever you choose.
Thank you so much, Kate, Shelley, and Irvin, for all of your insight and advice during this event. That's about all we've got time for. Don't forget to check out the Postgraduate Open Day on the Kent website, www.kent.ac.uk. Check it out then. That's all from me. I hope you've learned something and you've been given the advice that you need in order to pursue a postgraduate career here at the University of Kent. We're going to end with a final video about a tour on the Medway campus. That's all from me. See you soon and good luck for the future.
Hello, my name is Timmy Olainka. Welcome to the University of Kent Medway campus. So beside me is the Drill Hall Library, the longest library in Europe. When I was doing my dissertation, I remember I needed so many resources. The Drill Hall Library staff were always there to help me whenever I had any questions. So this is definitely the place to be to achieve those top marks and to do some social distance study. Behind me is the Deep End, which is the student hub on campus. Every single day of the week, we have so many activities with our top performers, theatres and plays all being hosted at the Deep End. I'm just hoping very soon, in the near future, we can have some more. And behind me is the sports centre. It has a fully equipped gym and a large sports hall for volleyball, basketball and of course, five-a-side football. So close by are the Medway building and the Gillingham building, as well as the Medway School of Pharmacy. Inside the Gillingham building, we have the School of Social Policy, Sociology and Social Research, as well as the Centre for Journalism. Inside the Medway building is also the home of KMTV, the university's part-owned local television station. KMTV offers a lot of student internships where I'm having an enjoyable time and developing myself for my future career. Pear Keys offers modern and suite accommodation to students. Each flat has about 5 to 8 students with a fully equipped shared kitchen. Pear Keys has a lot of social spaces and a laundrette. And if you're looking for a quick bite, then Pear Keys has Subways, Domino's and Tesco Express. It's a great place to live if you're looking for somewhere close to the Medway campus and popular sites around Medway. Medway has much to offer. Take Rochester, for example. You can shop along the cobbled high street, take a trip to the famous castle or cathedral, and a journey to London on the train is less than an hour. Medway is also home to the historic dockyard Chatham. We're over here at the historic dockyard Chatham, which is a maritime museum which showcases the unique history of the Medway region. This region has also been used for so many blockbuster movies and TV series sets. The University of Kent also has a presence here. And behind me is a galvanizing shop, which is a great location to enjoy some great food, time with friends, and live gigs between classes. I hope you found out a little bit more information about the Medway campus here at the University of Kent. If you're looking for any more information, please visit our website and our social media pages. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.